Levi Colwill. I mean, Andy, I saw one or two stories today about Levi Colwill being linked with Liverpool and other clubs, and I would imagine most elite team would want him, but he should stay because he's better than a lot of what you got at the back.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the worry for Chelsea fans. I mean, if you can't see what Levi Colwill is, you might as well go home. You might as well not be in recruitment. I mean, I'm fascinated by this, but he has got 2 years plus a year option on his contract. He hasn't met the new manager yet. Let's just see what happens when he gets back, and hopefully the new manager's going to say to him, you're a big part of what I want to do.
Yeah.
He's the right age.
He wants to hear he's going to be playing. He doesn't want to hear he's a big part of my plans. He wants to hear you're going to be playing next season.
No manager can say to a player, you're definitely going to be in.
No.
But he certainly can say to him, you're very much a big part of our plans and you're going to get plenty of football and you're going to get plenty of games.
Who's in front of him at centre-half, would you say?
Well, like Henry said, Badashil, what on earth did they... when we bought him, I went on air, I said, why have we bought this player when we've got Colwill? I didn't understand it. It made no sense and fills you with dread at what this recruitment team can do.
Well, I think he will play. I think Pochettino, with his reputation with younger players, will give him a chance. I spoke to him for about sort of 10 minutes after the game, and it was quite amusing because all his teammates were sort of dragging him away, say, come on, let's get to the party. And they all had their beers. And he was very considered. I mean, he didn't understandably sort of talk too much about his future, but he made that point, and footballers often use the cliche at the end of the day, but he said it in such an emphatic way when he was talking about at the end of the day, I need to play, I want to be in the next senior squad, the camp, which is for the Scotland and Ukraine games in, was it September, October? So he's very much focused on what an amazing season this could be, with England having a chance at the Euros, the senior Euros next summer. But clearly he wants to play. And look, Pochettino will have done his research, will have seen the confidence, will have seen. He made one mistake for the penalty, but otherwise I thought he was outstanding in the game itself, outstanding through the tournament. He's been outstanding for Brighton. So at Huddersfield before then on loan. His time has come now. And look, Andy, you know better than anyone. You go down to Cobham and you see, they call it, I think, sort of crossing the road from the academy into the senior setup. That should be a well-worn groove. It shouldn't just be the occasional Mason Mount or Tralabar, or obviously Reece James is the king who's made that. That should be a regular pathway. You shouldn't keep on losing these players. So hold on to Colwill. Build around him. He's been there from sort of 7 or 8. Yeah. What a fantastic prospect he is. And the key thing is he's not there because he's grown up at the academy. He will be in that first team on merit.
Yeah, they can't keep squandering the academy. The only thing is to say, that if he went to Liverpool, which I don't think he will, but say he went to Liverpool now, he also has the same problem at Liverpool. That in fact, he's more likely to play at Chelsea, with the way Chelsea are at the moment, than he is to play at Liverpool. I mean, they've got pretty established centre halves, so he'd have to get past them. Yeah. So unless he goes to Brighton again, somewhere like that, then he'll get regular week in, week out football. But if he goes to a top 4 team, I think he's got the same problem.
Henry, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Harwood-Bellis, who did very well at Burnley last year, whether he feels he can force his way into the City team, or whether Pep would want him to have another year out on loan.
Well, I mean, look at his performance again. He's confident. I love this. It's not a swagger with this generation. I've covered so many of these tournaments, and I've stood in the mix zone at previous tournaments when some players have been openly slagging off other players. There's none of that anymore. The culture at the FA has changed. The culture at the under-21s has changed. The culture of these players coming through the academies, okay, they're rivals with other clubs but they're also their mates as well. There's a family, as Colwill and Trafford himself was sort of talking about. But with Harwood-Bellis, is he going to get into that Manchester City defence? I think he probably needs to go out on loan. I think that when you look at that squad, and everyone's sort of saying, a lot of the newspapers that sort of sent out to cover it, a lot of them were saying the one who will really step up most quickly is Colwill. Harwood-Bellis, definitely. I mean, Southgate's already talked about him. Trafford, probably long-term as well. Fullbacks did as well. I mean, look at James Garner. Good finish he had. Out of position, you could argue. For me, he's always been a holding midfielder, but he did well at right-back for Everton. Terrific in the tournament as well. Max Aarons as well, as you mentioned earlier. Midfield as well, Curtis Jones as well, and I think he was voted player of the tournament, or Anthony Gordon was voted. Anthony Gordon as well. I mean, you look at it. So Balogun sort of doesn't want to play for England anymore. Fair enough, that's his right. Maybe he sees a better pathway elsewhere. Anthony Gordon plays that number 9. He then went on the left when Cameron Archer came on. So he played so slightly in the hole. That versatility. I've been so impressed with the versatility, the intelligence, the technique, the tactical nous of these players. And also, while we're touching on Chelsea, some of the coaching has been outstanding. I mean, you've got Ashley Cole in there, you've got Julian Lescott in there, and obviously Lee Carsley as well, and Dittmar, the head of coaching. It's a really good group there. So coming back to Harwood Bellis, I would love to see him playing on a regular basis for Manchester City, but they're not short of European Cup winners at centre-half.
Now, of the 84 team, remember back in the day when they won it last time, under Dave Sexton, 2 years later, 5 of that team played at the World Cup. I mean, they had 2 years to turn it on. Gary Bailey, Steve Hodge, Mark Haitley, 2 Gary Stevenses, 1 of Spurs, 1 of Everton. I mean, these boys, they've got a year effectively, Emery. So, do you expect any of these to be in the senior squad?
Colwill. Absolutely. But partly because that's where England, everyone's crying out for a left-footed centre-half at the moment. Maguire's playing there. Obviously, Southgate will stick with Maguire because Maguire's never let him down, and you can understand that. But long-term, Levi Colwill has to be given that chance. But you mentioned that 84. I mean, I was at Hampden, I think 2 or 3 days after that England success. And Mark Haitley was immediately called in by Bobby Robson into that squad to go from the triumphant under-21s into that senior squad. I don't know if he was on the bench, but certainly he'd been sort of called in for the game at Hampden, where I think Lineker came on for his debut, 1-1. And so, look, and there was a pathway then, but there's far more of a pathway now because of St George's Park, because of EPPP, because of the youth review from 11 years ago, which people tend to forget about, but has been absolutely fundamental in encouraging the skill of these young players who are now, pushing forward. And you look at that under-21 squad, and there are about 5 or 6 outstanding players like a Bellingham, like a Saka, Conor Gallagher, players like that, who are actually still eligible for the under-21. So the future's looking good. We just need to have that nous to get England over the line next summer.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.